The FTX group's collapse appears to stem from absolute concentration of control in the hands of a small group of grossly inexperienced and unsophisticated individuals who failed to implement virtually any of the systems or controls that are necessary for a company entrusted with other people's money or assets.
Welcome back. FTX's new CEO, John J. Ray III, the sole witness at the House Financial Services Committee hearing yesterday into the disaster at FTX. Echoes of Enron 20 years ago and the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme from 2008. Disgraced cryptocurrency golden boy Sam Bankman-Fried now facing multiple charges. If convicted on all of them, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. He's only 30 years old. Joining us now for more, global business analyst Hilary Fordwich and former acting U.S. Attorney General Matthew Whitaker back with us this morning. Great to have you both on. Mr. Attorney General, I'd like to start with you. A lot of these charges we had yesterday when we were on the air: wire fraud conspiracy, securities fraud. But late yesterday, after the indictment was unsealed, we learned about money laundering and campaign finance law violations. How does this all play out? What do you think ultimately ends up happening here? 10 years ago, Bernie Madoff got 150 years in jail. He died in prison. Could Sam Bankman-Fried share the same fate?
Yeah, I think just based on these charges alone, he's probably looking at over 100 years. And I think the other thing that's pretty obvious to me is that this is just the initial indictment. There's going to be many more counts as they dig into this situation and figure out where the money went and how it was used. You know, ultimately, Rob, what I think the problem here is that a lot of this money was used in 2022 to change the outcome of elections. You know, millions of dollars poured into these very close races and ultimately tilted the scale, I think. You know, and it was an illegal scheme that, you know, in addition to, you know, this money that was stolen, it also was donated in the names of other people. And so you had this straw donor scheme that I think is going to be very interesting as it unravels.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to follow this, Hilary. Ray had a lot to say about Bankman-Fried, claiming the company had no record keeping whatsoever, which is very bizarre in the digital age. There apparently was no software, no QuickBooks to track the billions of dollars that he ultimately lost here, possibly trillions of dollars. Do you think there were co-conspirators in this case, or do you think somebody like SBF, as Democrats love to call him, do you think he acted alone in this?
Well, Rob, I'm not an attorney, but I will say where there are conspirators, one cannot conspire with oneself.
Right.
So absolutely, there absolutely have to be. And if I could just make one minor little correction here, when you mentioned QuickBooks, they were using QuickBooks, a multi-billion-dollar company. My background includes KPMG. I'm not an auditor, but I will tell you, one of the issues here was not only did they not have a CFO, they didn't have a reputable audit firm. They didn't have anybody reputable. And people have referred to this as a fraternity. I think that's actually an insult to every responsible fraternity across America, more like a romper room.
Yeah, good point, Hilary. General, Sam Bankman-Fried's girlfriend, these two, they're Bonnie and Clyde here, if you will. Her name, Carolyn Ellison. She apparently was in New York City yesterday. Of course, that's where the Southern District is in New York. That's where the U.S. Attorney is. Do you think that maybe she was meeting with the U.S. Attorney? I know this is speculation, but, you know, is she singing like a canary to try and get some immunity here?
Yeah, well, she's retained counsel that is known for trying to have their clients cooperate. So I would expect that that's what's going to happen. You know, when you have cases like this, Rob, you end up, it's a race to the courthouse to who can cooperate, because that's the only way to get time off of a sentence. And when you're dealing with billions of dollars, the suggested sentences by the guidelines go up very quickly when you get into billions of dollars. That's why these calculations of over 100 years are being bandied about. So I think ultimately she will cooperate. I think anybody who's involved that's not Mr. Bankman-Fried should cooperate, because at the end of the day, that's the only way you'll get a discount off of your of what should be a fairly big sentence.
Okay, so Hilary, Ray confirmed yesterday to lawmakers that SBF allowed, and this is a shocking number, about 1,500 people in the Bahamas to withdraw roughly $100 million in the 24 hours before the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The guys at Enron did the same thing 20 years ago. History repeating itself there. Do we get names? What do you think this means?
I think this actually means, I mean, I am not a conspiracy theorist in the slightest, but there's only two ways to basically, excuse my language here, shut people up. One of which is, of course, to have them arrested by the Biden DOJ right before they're about to testify. And the second, well, we all know what that was. We can think of somebody else actually called with the last name Epstein, what happened to him when he had to be silenced. And what is another very interesting point here, one of the attorneys who's just been hired? Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. So you can see there's going to be a lot of singing canaries here. Who wants to have him quietened? That's the big question.
In the timing of that arrest yesterday, General, just 15 seconds. Do you think we see civil suits to people that endorse this guy? You know, Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, all these big celebrities that endorse this guy?
Yeah, in addition to civil lawsuits, you're also going to see this bankruptcy court claw back a lot of this money that was paid, especially recently.
Okay. Hilary Fordwich, former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, thanks so much for being with us this morning and breaking that all down. We appreciate it.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the
truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
real news
For real people.